is Srinivas Gowda. I am working as assistant professor in IARE college. Today we will see the SQL query. What are the various components of an SQL query? Okay, we'll get started. Okay, SQL query. What is an SQL query? Why do we write an SQL query? Why do we write an SQL query? SQL query is written to retrieve some data from the database. To receive some data from the server, you write a query. You have data in a table. Table is having data. Data means it has some piece of information is stored in a table. Some piece of information is stored in a table. Now we need to get that data from the table. For that, we have to write code. That code is called as SQL code. SQL code to retrieve data from the database table is a SQL query. This code is called as query. So query is a SQL piece of code used to retrieve data from the table. The table is having some data. You want to retrieve that data from the data from the table. For that, we have to write a SQL code. That SQL code is called as query. Okay. Now we'll see the syntax of writing an SQL query. So SQL query will have this components. It has one select component. It has a select component. It has a from clause. It has a where clause, order by clause, group by, having, join, and using. These are the various components of a SQL query. It starts with select. It has a from clause, and it has a from clause. Okay. After that, where condition is mandatory, is not mandatory. Where condition is an optional. Order by is also optional. Group by optional. Having optional. Join optional. Using also optional. Okay. But select is mandatory. From is also mandatory. These are the two clauses which we must have to retrieve data from a table. You have to retrieve data from a table. By default, you need to have two clauses. One is the select clause, and also the from clause. These two are the two default clauses. Now we'll see the various components here are select, we have from, then we have where, we have order by clause, we also have a group by clause, group by having, join and using. We'll talk about these in the coming slides, each one of them in detail. Now let us try to a simple query. I said that we need to have two default compulsory statement. It is select and from clause. These two are the mandatory. These two are the mandatory clauses you should have. Select from. Select is first clause. This is second clause. These two are the mandatory. So I am saying here select start from students view. Select is the mandatory. Star means all the columns from the table student view. This student view is having 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So when I say star means all columns from table. All columns from table. Star means all the columns from the table called as student view. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have four columns in my student view. I'm saying select is a keyword. Select is a default mandatory. Select star means all the columns from where I want to have from the table name called as student view. When I execute this statement, all the columns from the table student view will be displayed along with the data here. Simple SQL queries: select star from student view. Select is mandatory, from is mandatory, and after the select, if you say star means all the columns. After from, we have to give the table name. After the from statement, you have to give the table name. In this case, my table name is student view. I'm saying select star from student view. If I don't want all the columns, if I want to know only the one or two columns, I'll say select. I want second column std underscore name, comma std underscore age. I want only two columns. From where? From class, from table name called as student view. From a table called as student view. This is a simple statement. Simple SQL query: select star from table name. From student view is a table name. I'm saying all the columns. If you say this, if you say star means all the columns will be returned. All the four columns along with the data in these four columns. So I have here 8 records. All the 8 records will be displayed. All the 8 records for the 4 columns, because I said it is star. If I don't say star, I'll say name and age. Only these 2 columns will be displayed. This column is not displayed. This column is not displayed. But it will display only all the 8 rows. All the 8 rows for these 2 columns called as name and age. Okay. So this is basic SQL query. When it's now you have data stored. You have data stored in the student view table. You have data stored in the student table. You have data stored in the student table. Data stored in the student table. And you want to see the data back. So select star from student view. When I say star means all the column data all the records will be displayed. If I say only the required columns, I can say std comma name. Only these 2 columns will be displayed. If I say instead of star, I can also write std underscore id, std underscore name, std underscore age, and std underscore course. So all the even here also all the columns from the student view will be displayed, because I have here 4 columns here. I have here 4 columns here. 4 will I can, if I want to say all the columns, I can say star, or I can also mention that all the columns by names. If I don't want to mention all the columns, I can use star. If I want only 1 or 2 columns, I will say the required column. Okay, this is about the student simple query. Now we'll see the elements. Of the select statement. Okay, we have a select statement which includes columns here. In the select statement, you can mention the required columns, or you can say star. You have a from clause, you have a where clause, you have group by, having, select, and order by. These are the various clauses available in the SQL Server. Okay, this we have seen in the earlier slide. Select, from, these 2 are mandatory, and rest all are not mandatory. Where is not mandatory, order is not mandatory, group by, having, and etc. Now we'll talk about each one of them in detail. Okay, what is a select clause? The select clause is where you specify the attributes, columns you want to return in the result set of a query. Select statement is a clause where you mention the column names. What are the various column data you want to see? You mention the select statement. In this case, I'm saying I want STD ID, name, age, course from the student view table. This is a table name. This is a table name. These are all attributes. I'm saying I need these following attributes 1, 2, 3, 4. If I don't give here column names, I can also give a star means all the columns from the student table will be displayed. All the columns from the student table will be displayed. All the columns will be displayed. When this statement is executed, all the data coming from the student will be displayed back to the user. This is the select statement. Now we'll see the from clause. What is a from clause? From clause is where actually you see the data. It is table is there. It has name called as example A, B, C. There are 3 tables. Okay. When you say from A, all the data from the A will be displayed. If I say B, data from B is displayed. If I say C, data from C is displayed. So from clause is a very first query clause that is logically processed. In this clause, you will specify the names of the tables you want to query and table operators that operate on those tables. So I'm saying here select std name underscore course from student view. This is my table. These 2 are my columns. These 2 are my 2 columns. I want to display data from 2 column data from the student view table. So from clause is a clause you will mention from which you want to see data. From which table you want to see data is mentioned from the from clause. Okay, we have finished select. We have finished select and from. We have finished select and from clauses. Now we'll go to the third clause. If you see the hierarchy, I said select is mandatory. From is mandatory. From is mandatory. Okay. In the where clause, now we have to now concentrate on where, group by, having, and order by clause. Now we'll talk about the first clause called as where. In the where clause, you specify a predict or logical expression to filter the rows written from the where clause. In the where clause, you specify what are the things you want to filter out from the where clause. Only rows for which the logical expression logical expression evaluates to true are returned by the where phase to subsequent logical query phase. Now see here, we know thus the select star from student view will give you all the data. Suppose there are 100 records in this table. 100 records will be required. Now I want to filter the data. I don't want to see all the data. I just want to see only some part of the data. I want to see where the course is civil. I want to know only those students who opted for the course civil. So what I'll say, select star from student view where the course is civil. Now when in this case, I will be seeing data only of the civil engineering department. I will not see the data if you see the earlier case, now this is the total data. This is the total data. Now I mentioned here civil. I'll see only 1, 2, 3, 4 records. I'll see only 4 records. So in the where clause, after your from clause, whatever you're getting data, if you want to filter the data, we have to use a where clause. In the where clause, if that in that where clause, what is the condition you have given? If this is satisfies, you'll get data. If this condition is not satisfying, you'll not get data. Now, if you see here, there are 8 records in this table. There are 8 records in this table. But now, I want to see only the computer science data. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll say select star means all the columns. From where I want to see data? From the student view table, where course is equal to computers. I'll see only data belonging to this course only. I am not seeing data belonging to civil nor other branches. I'm just seeing here only 4 data belongs to computer science. So where clause is the clause used to filter out the results based on the select statement. Based on the from clause. After from clause, you get some XYZ records. Out of that, you want to filter. You have to provide the filter condition. For example, I have students who are male and female. If I want to retrieve only students who are female, I have to say where gender is equal to female. Here, this gender is a column in the table for which the values are M and F. Now, suppose I don't mention this where clause, I'll be getting all the students who are both female and male. But here, I want to get only female students, so I have to say where clause gender is equal to female. So where clause is a clause used to filter the data based on the condition. The condition can mean anything. If that condition satisfies, you are going to get data. Suppose here there is no student with mechanical. There is no student with mechanical. If I write here, instead of computers, if I write mechanical. Now this is write mechanical here. I will not get data because there are no students with mechanical. Only if it satisfies, you are going to get data. If not satisfied, you are not going to get data. Now we'll see the next statement called as group by. Okay, so like this is the original data. This is the original data. Now I have said here I want the students who are from computers. So I'll see in the selection I'll see these 4 records only. Okay. After the select statement, we'll go to the group by. So till now we have covered select. We have also covered from. We also covered where clause. So where clause we used to filter the data based on the condition. If the condition satisfies, you will get the data. If the condition is not satisfied, you will not get the data. Now let us proceed further. Now next we will see the group by. Group by clause works on a set of rows and returns one result per group. See, group by function works on a set of rows and returns one result set per group. So it means that your data is being grouped now. Suppose you have students from mechanical, civil, computers, and ECE and Electrical. Now you want to group students based on mechanical. You want to see how many students are there in mechanical, civil count, computers and count. So group by functions works on a set of rows and results one result per group. Now here I want to make a group as the student course. The student course can be mechanical, civil, computer science, electrical. Okay. Some of the commonly used group functions are average, AVG average, count, max, min, sum, and variance. The group by phase allows you to arrange the rows written by the previous logical query. Previous logical query processing in phases. The groups are determined by the elements you specify in the group by clause. Okay. Here it's nothing but group by means grouping your data based on some group. Okay. Now here, okay, I have students of various branches. Civil, I have civil, mechanical, electronics, and CSE. These are my courses, my branches in my college. I want to know the count of each branch students. So if I have to write, have to write the count of civil, I have to get first I have to count this, then mechanical I will count. I have to count electrical. I have to count CSE. So 4 times I have to count the data for each group. Suppose there are 100 groups, they have to count for 100 times each group. Okay. Instead of doing that way, now you can group the course. When you group the course, for each group, civil is one group, mechanical is one group, computer is one group. Totally we have here 3 groups. So we have here civil group, computers group, mechanical group. Totally there are 3 groups here. For each group you are going to get count. Same thing you can write it. You can write it for 4 times. Instead of here you can write, instead of this statement you can write where course is equal to civil, course mechanical, electrical, etc. You have to write for 100 times. So here you are using the group by clause. Is group by clause will group your data into separate groups. Each that groups will depend upon on what you want to group. Here if I want to group by gender, then I will be saying having 2 genders, male and F. Suppose if you have to group by, what city, group by city, then for each valid city I'll have separate group. Hyderabad, one city, Karimnagar, one city, Warangal, one city. That way. So group by is a clause used to process the data in terms of groups. That groups will depend on what column you have choose in the group by clause. And after group by clause, we will have the having clause. Having clause is similar to where clause. Where clause, after the from statement, if you want to filter some data, you are using the where clause. Where clause is used to filter data after the from clause. Similarly, having will work like similarly like where, but having will work with group by clause. So with the having clause, you can specify a predict to filter groups as opposed to filtering the individual rows. For filtering the individual rows, you are using the where clause, whereas for filtering the groups, you have to use the having clause. Only groups for which the logical expression in the having clause evaluated true or returned by the having phase to next logical phase. Groups for which the logical expression evaluated to false or unknown or are filtered out. So after the from statement, if you want to the filter, you for each and individual rows, you are using the where clause. But if you want to filter based on the groups, now we know this group by, if this statement will give you count of each student, count of students who are studying in each branch. So I have here civil, I have 4 students, computer science, I have 2 students. So group by. So because I made group by courses, in the civil I'll see the count. I'll see the count. In the computers also I'll see the count. Also see the count. So I have here. I have 2 groups here. If there is one more group called mechanical, it could be a value is there. Civil 1. Now I'll say I want to filter the groups where count is greater than 2. Where the count is greater than 2. Then I have to use the having. I have to use the having clause to filter the groups data. Now if I say here count greater than 2 means only civil and computer science will be displayed. Mechanical and civil are eliminated because they are not more than 4. This is the having by clause. This is having by clause. Next, ordering the data. Next is the ordering the data. After you got the data, if you want to sort the data, you have to use the order by clause. So your data can be sorted based on ascending or descending. Ascending or descending. Ascending means A to Z. A to Z or small to big. Order by clause is used to sort your data. Once your data is coming, you want to sort it. You are sorting. That sorting can be done in 2 ways: ascending and descending. In the ascending format, it is your data is sorted data A to Z or small to big, like A to Z or 1 to 100. In the reverse, it is descending. In the reverse, it is descending. It is Z to A or big to small. The order by clause allows you to sort the rows in the output for the presentation purpose. In terms of logical query processing, order by is the very last clause to be processed. Orders the result set as per required output, ascending or descending. By default is ascending. Now here you see a select star from student view. Select star from student, order by student name disk. Now see here, this is the original data. This is the original data in your database. Okay, it is sorted based on some ID called 10123419. Now I am saying here, select star from thing, order by name underscore disk. I want my data to be sorted by name in the descending. When I say it in the descending, it is small to big. It is big to small or big to small or Z to A. Now this is the original data in the database table. When you sort the data, this is how you are going to get it. It is Z to A. There is no Z, so Warner will be the first and A will be the last letter here. You see here Warner is the first, last record. Amin is the first record. When you say descending means your data is sorted. Your data is arranged in alphabetic order. That is alphabetic order. That is Amin will be the last, Warner will be first record. This is the descending format. If you don't use this keyword called descending or DSCC, just say ascending. Your data is sorted in ascending A to Z. So Amin will be the first letter. Second will be Amina. Second will be Amina. Third will be Jeff, John, and Warner will be the last record. Okay, now we have finished basic SQL SQL components. Select from, then we had where, then we had group by, then we had having, group by, having, and then we have order by. Now we'll see few more commands. We'll see one command called as distinct commands. This will will remove the duplicates. Suppose in your data there are same record, same type of data is being displayed multiple times. If you want to remove the duplicates, you can use the distinct command is used to remove the duplicates. So if you see here, I have select STD course from students view. I have eight records here. See, in this, computer science is duplicated, civil is duplicated. Now when I say I want only select distinct courses, I'll say then the duplicate data is removed. Only the valid data is displayed. Valid displayed here. Still, that this data is available in the table only for the display purpose. You will see only two records. Rest all duplicates will be removed. So that means that that means that distinct command is going to remove duplicates. SQL alias. Okay, what is an SQL alias? What is an alias? It is a different name. What is an alias? It is a different name. So SQL alias are used to give tables, columns in a table a temporary name. That means alias name is something a different name. Alias name is suppose alias name is like your what they call it is what which name? Alias name is like your nickname. Suppose your name is Srinivas. Somebody calls you a Goda. That is your nickname. Same way, SQL alias is used to give some nickname to your column or table. So alias are often used to make the column more readable. An alias exists only for the duration of the query. These alias are not stored in database. Only when you want to display data. For example, here select std underscore name as name from the student view. In the database, the column name is std underscore name. In the database, my column name is std underscore name, but I am displaying that as a name in the output. So name is output. Here this name is displaying as the output, but not physically in the database. It is still the std underscore name. So the column alias is used to give a temporary name to a table or a column or similar nickname, and this is not stored in the physical database. It is only display purpose, and I can give this column alias for a column or a table. If I give for a table, it's called as table alias. If I give for a column, it is called as column alias. So table name followed by alias. For example, here select std underscore name from the student view. Here SV is the alias name. For student view, instead of writing entire view, I'll say SView. So SV is the alias name for this table. It is called as table alias. If I give the same alias for a column, it is called as column alias. If I say here select std underscore name as name, now this will be the column alias. So in order to give the column alias, we have to follow the syntax or column or table syntax. Select column names, space or as name or space name. I can say select I'll say std underscore age as age from table. In the table, this is the actual column, but I am displaying this age as this age. Display purpose only. Now, if I can also remove this space and say age. So anything instead of using AS, I can also keep it as empty space between the actual name and the new name. It also has a column alias. Similarly here, student view is the table name. I am saying space SV, then SV is the alias table for this. It is also similar to writing from student view as SV. Okay, here we have seen what is the table alias, what is the column alias. Now we will see the Please say the one more command, the top command. The top command. Top command is used to display how many records you want to display. Suppose you want to display only you want to display some 10 records. I want only 10 records. So top clause is used to specify how many number of records, number of records you want to return. Suppose you have 100 records, you want to display only 10 records, then you can say top clause can get only 10 records. So mind you, top clause will when your data is there of many rows, top clause could slow down your in getting your data back. So in order to use the top clause, we have to know the syntax. Here the top clause syntax is select top. So select top 2 star from student view. That means top 2 records will be displayed. If we say select top 10 from student view, only the top 10 will be displayed. Only top 10 will be displayed. Top 2 means only 2 from the total set. We say top 20 from the data will be displayed. Similarly, if I use something called as percentage, top 25% means out of data, 25% of data will be displayed. Suppose there are 100 records, so 25 records will be displayed because you said 25%. So you can use either 25% or top command. Top command is used to give number of records. How many records here? Top 2 means top 2 records. We say top 10 records. Similarly, we have percentage top 25% means out of data, out of 25% data will be displayed. This is the top clause. Then we have a case statement. What is a case statement? So a case statement is something like we have in other programming languages, case statement or switch case. Here we also have a case statement in SQL. The case statement goes through the conditions and returns the values if the first condition is met. So it is similar to if then else. So if once the condition is true, it will stop reading and returns the result set. If no condition matches, it goes to else clause. If there is no else clause, it is null. Okay. Case statement means when something happens, should display this. So I'm saying is case starts end. In between I have say when condition matches, display result. Second condition matches, display. Third condition matches, display. I'll say else result. And if there's no else condition, it is empty, null. For example, here, this is my student data. This is my student data in the table. Now I want to write. Now I want to display data. If the age is 25, it is above 25. If the age is less than 25, I want to display as less than 25. Okay, here I want to write a condition that whether a student is eligible or not eligible. For example, when the age is less than 25, is eligible. The age is more than 20, not eligible. So select. These are 2 columns I want to display. Now I'm writing a case statement. Now what is the case? If then else. If it matches, if the age is less than 25, it matches, then display the data as below 25. If the age is more than 25, display as above 25. Else, if there is no else, it will display or else some other condition. End as age criteria, student view. Now with this data, I am trying to display a column. I'm trying to display in a more meaningful column here as age below 25. This is one condition. This is one condition. So case statement is like your switch statement in your programming language, similar to if then else. The condition matches, display as this. If the condition not matching, display a null or display something else. Okay, this is the case statement. And we have last two commands. those are is null and coalesce function. Is null or the coalesce function. The SQL server is null and the coalesce functions lets you to lets us to return an alternative value when the expression is null. So when the expression is null, you want to display as some other thing, you have to use is null. Similarly, you can also use coalesce of coalesce of a column name. If it is null, displays what? For example, here I have some age here. If I not mention any age, I want to display as 0. See this case. I have a few set of data here. This is my set of data here. And if there is no age provided, I want to display as 0 or some other value. I want to display as 0 or some other value. Then I'm using the condition called as is null. Is null means if the value is null or 0, display as something else. Similarly, I have one more condition called as coalesce. Coalesce means if that value is not present, display as something else. Here I'm saying it when the value is not there, display as 0. I can also mention a value as display as 50. I can anything here also 50 I can write here also 50. That means is null, coalesce will check if there is no value in that, it displays a different value. That value we can mention. Okay, that value can mention. Now this is the is null coalesce function. The last slide we have seen what is distinct. Okay, we'll just once recap. Is null coalesce function are used when the expression is null or 0. You want to display some other value. You have to use the is null or the coalesce function. Similarly, we have a case statement. We have a case statement means this case statement will display your data based on the condition. If it matches, you are going to get data. If not matches, you will not get data. Okay. Then we have the top clause. Top clause is a clause which will tell you how many records you want to retrieve. When you say top 25, only top 25 records will be displayed. If you say top 25% out of the given data, 25% will be declared. 50% means half the records will be displayed. Half the records will be displayed. We also had SQL Alias. Alias is providing a nickname to your database table or a column name. So you know to make it more meaningful and readable name, you can use the column alias. In order to remove the duplicates, you can use the distinct command. Order by clause is used to order the data in ascending or default. The default is ascending. When I say it is ascending means small to big or A to Z. And when it is descending means Z to A or big to small. Then we also have the having clause. Having clause is used to apply the filter on a group. Group by clause is used to group your data based on a group. Okay, and the grouping is to display your data in some type of groups. Here the group can be any of your column name. Okay, and the various group functions are average, count, max, min, and sum and variance. Then we have a where clause. Where clause is used to filter out the condition. If the filter condition matches, you will get data. If the filter condition not matches, you will not get any data. Then we have the from clause is from which table you want to see the data. And we have the select statement. This will tell you how many attributes you want to see the data. So at a high level, this is a diagram, this is a diagram for which you have to use. Here we started with the select. We started with the select statement. Then here in the select statement, we will display the attributes which you want to display, And we also have the from clause. We have the from clause will display how many columns you want to, from which table you want to see the data, We have the where clause to filter out the groups. We have filter out the individual rows. Filter out individual rows. Then we had order by, and order by used to sort the data. Then we have group by, to grouping your data based on a group. And in order to filter the group data, use the having clause. This we'll discuss in the next class. What is join, what is using clause. Okay? Join and using clause. This is a simple select statement. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.